It's time to get in the game.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Get in the Game podcast, the podcast where we explore ways to get off the sidelines, stop making excuses, and get in the game. I'm your coach, Trevor, and today I'm coming to you from Cancun, the Mexican Caribbean. I'm on vacation right now with my wife, having a great time. We love it here. This is one of our favorite places to come. We came on our honeymoon. We came on our first anniversary, and because of everything that was happening in the world, we weren't able to come out here for our second anniversary, but we decided that this is a little time that we can get away. And so here we are now enjoying our time together. And it just so happens that it is not only right before we left, it was the kind of the halfway point between our anniversaries. It was exactly 6 months, but also while we were here, we realized that it was the anniversary, the third anniversary of us getting engaged and me proposing. And so we've actually celebrated that a little bit too. But we're happy to be here. Happy to take some time out here to come and speak to you guys and just love on you. And hopefully we can get something out of it together. Today I'm going to be talking about what I like to call surrender. Not surrender in the sense of giving up in a battle or giving up in a game, but kind of stepping aside, maybe putting away our pride in the things we might not be so equipped for. I've spoken before about having teamwork and maybe letting other people who know more about something or have been there for you, a mentor or a coach or a teacher, and they are speaking into your life because they care for you and they want to help you. And sometimes we need to put pride away and take their advice. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. You know, at being a coach, sometimes in today's generations and society, it's really hard for athletes to surrender what they think is best for them and go along with the coach. The teams that are able to do that and the players are able to do that, I feel, in my experience, have taken off and they've done great things. But the ones that have a hard time doing it kind of peak throughout the season and they don't quite get any better, or the team struggles because they're not willing to buy into what the coach is saying. And it's really tough because as someone who's gone through both being an athlete and a coach for a while, when you have a player that comes in who's maybe only been playing for a few years of their whole career, and they think that they know more about situations and strategy and just sheer playing, it's disheartening because it means that person isn't willing to learn. And it's really hard to get through to them because they just have this pride about them that they aren't willing to surrender and say, you know what, coach, I know that you've been here a while. You wouldn't be a coach if you didn't know what you were talking about. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to trust what you have to say, and I'm going to go with it. And it's really tough. And I've said it's really tough a few times, but that's really the only way to describe it as a coach, because as a coach, you feel like you're at this point where you can't reach them and you don't understand why they aren't trusting you. And you have to find new ways to encourage them. But in all reality, it comes down to whether or not that player or athlete wants to surrender what they think they know and trust you with all that they have. You know, it could come the same way in a job too. You might think that, you know what, hey, I got my degree, I got all this stuff, I'm qualified for this job, but you have maybe no experience in the field. And it takes mentorship, it takes time to learn what these people who have been in your position already know. And laying that pride aside and surrendering it and saying, you know what, I'm giving that up. I'm not going to listen to what my internal voices are saying about how good I am or what I think I know or my abilities. Because in all reality, both in athletics and in real life, abilities really have nothing to do with it. Experience is so much more key to what you're able to accomplish. And people who have gone there before you, who have that experience, are willing to help you and get you that knowledge before you have to go through it like they did. And that's why, as a coach, I get so frustrated with the players. Like, hey, I've been there, and I don't want you to have to. I don't want it to have to take 15 years of playing or 15 years of coaching to get you the experience that I'm willing to give to you right now. Take it, and learn from it. Same way in life and in business and mentoring and just speaking life into people. When they're able to give up their pride, give up their sense of accomplishment before that they've really earned it, so much more learning can happen with that. You know, in getting in the game, getting into something new, there's also a type of surrender that we have to go through in terms of knowing that if I'm going to start something new, something else is going to lack. Even if you have a lot of free time on your hands, if you're willing to start something, and let's say it's getting back in shape. I use that a lot because my wife and I have been talking about it. I really need to start getting back in shape. It's my acceptance of that, not necessarily her pushing me, but I know that I need to get healthier. And it might not necessarily be back in shape, but I need to be healthier. I need to make better choices. So in order to make better choices, one, I have to say that I have to surrender the fact that I'm not healthy. Two, I'm going to have to give something else up, whether it's a type of food or drink I like. By the way, I'm a super fan of Mountain Dew, so that's a tough thing. In order to get healthy, I'm going to have to give up certain things. I'm going to have to surrender to cravings, surrender to my knowledge of, you know what, I could just have one a day instead of 3 a day, and I'll be fine. That's not the type of thinking that gets you places. I need to take a step back and maybe seek out counsel of a nutritionist or someone who's been in the same position as me and say, hey, what did you give up? What am I going to have to sacrifice? What am I going to have to surrender to in order to get the results that I want? Knowing I can't just do it on my own. If you're battling some sort of struggle and you know that you need other people's help, then it takes a surrender to that and say, you know what, I know I have to tell someone about this, and I have to come clean, or I have to I need their help, I need their encouragement, and the only way I'm going to get that is by surrendering that and say, you know what, I can't do it alone, I need your help. And it might not sound like surrender, but in all reality, that's what it is. It's a pride. You're surrendering your pride and saying, I need help. And I just feel like surrender is such a big part of getting in the game. Even Jesus himself surrendered himself to the ultimate plan. And the ultimate plan was God the Father's. Was that Jesus was coming here. His whole purpose was to reconcile us with the Father because we were sinful people. And he came down and was born as a little baby, grew up, had a perfect life, and he surrendered his life for us to be the sin that we all had, even though he was sinless. He died on the cross for those sins so we could be reconciled to God. And that if we believe in him, that he rose again in 3 days, that if we believe in him, we can have eternal life and be reconciled with God. Because he is our only way to reconciliation. Because we are a sinful people. You know, on his last eve before he was hanged on the cross, he had a spot where he knew it was coming. He had already had the Last Supper with the disciples, and he went out to pray because his heart was grieved. He knew that he was going to be arrested. He knew that he was going to be tortured and then hanged on the cross to die. And even though he was Jesus is God, he was also fully human and had human emotions. And this is his prayer to his Father, a part of it, the night before he died. It says, it's in Matthew 26:39. It says, he went on a little farther and bowed his face to the ground, praying, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet, I want your will to be done, not mine. It's crazy because he had all the power to stop it all. He didn't have to go through it, but his purpose was to come and die on the cross for our sins. He did not want to go through this pain and anguish, this cup of suffering that he says is going to happen. He did not want to go through it. Yet he decided that, and surrender, said, yet, Father, your will, not mine. Because he knew that his Father's will is greater than his own. And he knew that the only way to accomplish what needed to be accomplished was to fulfill that mission, to come, to die on the cross, to be buried and then raised again in 3 days. And he's the ultimate example of surrender. And that's obviously, hopefully not the surrender that we have to do in our own lives. But he was willing to do the ultimate surrender. So anything that we're dealing with in our own lives of, maybe it is being more active, or it's cleaning the house and knowing that, we've been putting it off for a while, or doing certain projects, or maybe it's at our work that we're not as active as we should be in our jobs and professions, or maybe we are a student or we're an athlete, and we just have to realize that, people, our teachers and our coaches, whether they're pleasant people or not, are there for a purpose, and they're there for a reason, and they have experiences that, in all reality, they want you to succeed, if at all, just for the reason that if you don't succeed, it looks bad on them. I used to tell players all the time that, do you really think that I am trying to make you a worse player? Because honestly, as a coach, my job depends on whether or not you guys are successful or not. And I coached at a very sport-oriented district, and winning is, and success in winning is important. It's important to that district. And so if we went along and we tried to make you worse and we tried to make you lose, over time, we're not going to have a job. So it doesn't make sense for me to try and make you worse, because that only puts my job in jeopardy. And I like my job and I like coaching. I would tell them that, and it would sink in for a moment, but it over time it would just kind of dissipate and we'd go on to the status quo. So there are things in life that we just have to surrender to, that we have to let it go and know that, especially if you're a Christian, that God has a will for our lives that is greater than our own. And we have to be open and ready to listen to it in a way that is humbling, is hard. Sometimes it's not easy to hear what God is saying to you, but we have his word, and we have prayer, and we have trying to live out the same life that Jesus did. And obviously we're never going to be perfect, but if we do those things, God speaks to us, whether through other people or through his word. And we get that kind of, we get that counsel that only surrendering can bring. And in other areas of life, when you're willing to learn and open yourself up to asking questions and letting other people know that you don't have all the answers, and that you're not going to be a one-man army trying to battle, whether it's a sport or whether it's a job or whether it's a task, you're not going to do it alone. You're going to seek out the people who have the experience, or maybe have a different skill set or ability than you do, and surrendering the fact that you can't do it alone. And those are so important in today's life, because we're a relational people. I mentioned it before, we were built for relationships. And surrendering our own solitude can be really hard at times. But it's so key to move forward and to build experiences, to build skills, to build knowledge. Is it doesn't all come from ourselves. We have to get it from others. We have to get it from God. And I think surrendering is the best way to do that. And so, even now, like even this podcast, I really, really wanted to just kind of stay out by the pool and hang out, but I had to surrender some of that time because I made a commitment not only to myself and to my wife, but to you guys that I would put out these, these episodes and be there and do it. Try and do it with integrity, try and do it with teamwork. My wife has said, you need to go and spend some time alone up in the room, getting this done. And I feel better for it. And I want to thank you all for everything. And I'm going to come back to our anchor verse, Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, do your work heartily as for the Lord rather than for men. And I think that really ties into what we're talking about here, because if we are going to do what we do for the glory of the Lord, we have to realize that it's not about our glory. That we have to put our glory aside and say, here you go, God. My glory is nothing. It's all for you. And when we can do that, we're just one step closer to being fully surrendered to his will and what he has in store for us. Because what he has planned for us is for good, and it's for glory, and it's better than what we can think of for ourselves. He has a better plan than we do for ourselves. And so I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much again for tuning in. If you haven't already, go to our YouTube page, Get in the Game podcast. It might even be Get in the Game PC, but I'll put a link in the show notes, and you can visit us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Get in the Game PC. Those are all the same. And we also have a website that is getinthegamepc.com. So please go ahead and check all those out for more information about me and videos and the content that we have. So thank you again so much for tuning in this week. Let's surrender to God's will. Let's surrender to our own pride. Let's get off the sidelines, stop making excuses, and get in the game. We'll see you next week.
Get in the game. Thank you for listening to the Get in the Game podcast. Please take a second to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. That's the best way to support us. Find us on YouTube and subscribe for more content. If you would like for us to pray for you, or if you have topics that you would like us to tackle in upcoming episodes, email us at getinthegamepodcast@gmail.com. That's getinthegamepodcast@gmail.com. Or hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at getinthegamepc. If you've experienced getting off the sidelines and getting into the game yourself, please let us know. And remember, it's time to get in the game.